Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Employee Engagement in a Millennial World. Thank you for taking your time out to be here with me today. I know this is a wild time, so I'm thankful that you are willing to utilize this time to learn something new. My name is Steve Ott, and I'm the owner of Ott Leadership. I provide leadership development solutions for businesses and organizations. I spent over a decade as a leader in both the nonprofit and private sector, and after earning a master's degree in transformational leadership, I started my business in order to help people grow into strong, healthy leaders that can create strong, healthy workplaces. Today, our focus will be on learning how to best engage millennials in the workplace. We have four main objectives today. We want to understand millennials and how they fit into today's workplace, explore employee engagement and how it can impact you, identify the 7 workplace needs of millennials, and discuss the 3 things you can do right now to start meeting these needs. Now, I want this to be an interactive webinar, so as I'm talking, if you have questions or thoughts, concerns, feel free to use the chat function on the right-hand side of the screen to ask a question, and I'll do my best to answer it. We'll also close our time with the Q&A time, so if you don't get a chance to ask your question during the webinar, you'll have a second chance towards the end. If you miss anything, don't worry. I'll be sending out an on-demand recording of this when it becomes available to you. Again, if you have any questions as we go, feel free to ask them in the chat window. So let's dive into it. I recently attended a conference that strangely turned into a modern-day version of a workplace horror movie. It was a conference with industry leaders, elected officials, the cream of the crop. We were talking about the shifting landscape in technology, and especially with millennials. The main topic was, how do we reach millennials? They were talking around the issue, and finally, an expert leading the conference just said it. Millennials are coming. You can't avoid it. Suddenly, there was concerned murmuring, eyes darting back and forth throughout the room. Tension was building, and finally, one brave soul stood up and quietly asked, well, what do we do with millennials then? A very ominous silence fell over the room. The people were on the edge of their seats. The expert's head dropped for a moment. He was stroking his beard, thinking about the answer. And he looks up solemnly and he whispers, "We don't know." We don't know. We don't know is the common refrain across many workplaces today. See, there's a new pain being felt all across America in our workplaces. What once was working in leadership is no longer working. Millennials just simply aren't responding to the same old style of leadership. They aren't fitting in. They're unhappy. They're unproductive. They're changing jobs. They're disengaged. Right? Leaders and owners and managers are feeling it the most. They're asking themselves the question, why aren't they responding to me? It can feel helpless and frustrating and annoying, and ultimately it can feel defeating. But here's the deal. The problem isn't going away. It's just starting. See, the conference expert was right. Millennials aren't a future problem. They're here right now. According to recent survey data, millennials are the largest generation in United States history. There's 92 million millennials versus only 61 million Gen Xers and 77 million boomers. Millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. So we're talking like ages 24 to 39 right now, right? Like every generation before it, millennials have been shaped by key events and innovations, okay? I think there's 4 things that are currently impacting millennials and how they approach work today. The first one is national tragedies. The oldest millennial was 20 years old and the youngest was 5 when 9/11 happened. And just 2 years prior to that, the Columbine school shooting happened. Right? Terrorism, mass shootings, and national tragedy have been a huge part of growing up as a millennial. Right? The millennial worldview has been forever altered because of these events. They've grown up in stricter, more secure environments. They're much more cautious now. But also, these events have reinforced the importance of community and serving and helping and making a big difference. The second event is the Great Recession of 2008. In 2008, the Great Recession hit our economy hard, and it was in full force when millennials started entering the workforce. All right, this caused unique financial challenges that are still being dealt with today. College debt, the housing crisis, people can't afford to start a home, low starting wages. It all impacted millennials' relationship with their work, how they viewed salary, and how they viewed their own self worth. If you can't rely on money, what can you hang your hat on at work? The next event was the technology boom. Millennials grew up with the internet, with computers, with cell phones, with gaming systems, with smartphones, iPods, iPads, Kindles, all those things. The name of the game here is speed, right? There's instant gratification, but also there's instant knowledge. You don't have to know everything if you can just go and find everything, right? It also altered how we interact and communicate with each other, right? There's so many things happening, so many inputs. How does a unique voice rise out of the noise? The last thing I think that really has impacted millennials is social media. It's exploded with millennials. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even old school things like MySpace and Vine. It's allowed us to be connected globally, right? The opportunity to reach out and connect with people, with jobs and new careers has been expanded exponentially, right? Now people can travel for their jobs and have careers from afar and remotely, like we're all doing right now. They can do that with ease at this point. Social media has put our life on display, right? You can almost start to rank yourself socially. So millennials are asking themselves, where do I stand? We've also seen a huge rise in isolation, artificial relationships, right? Where people aren't able to connect in person now. So now, as a result, things like authentic community is unique and powerful. All of these things, all these events and innovations shape how millennials view their work and life. But now, these uniquely shaped millennials are nearly all out of college and they're flooding the workforce. So why should we care about millennials, right? Why are we all talking about this right now? Well, according to in the last data set in 2016, millennials were the largest labor force, 56 million people. Right, that makes up 35% of our workforce. In 2025, though, it's estimated that a full 75% of our workforce will be made up of millennials. That means that 3 out of 4 workers will be a millennial in your workplace. Right? If your staff isn't millennial heavy at this point, it will be soon. This is a huge problem for those who are unprepared for this big shift. Millennials are also the least engaged generation at work. Employee engagement is a big piece of the puzzle. So what exactly is it? Employee engagement is the emotional or psychological commitment a person has to their work. It's measured by the amount of discretionary energy utilized towards work. So that all that energy you have stored up in reserve, it's you then pouring that out on your work, right? We all have a baseline job description we have to fulfill. But what makes us do an exceptional job? What makes us go above and beyond to put the extra effort in? It's employee engagement. It's feeling connected to your job. See, when you feel connected and excited and engaged at work, you go all in, right? Every business and organization is impacted by employee engagement. The question is just how much? Now, before you start checking off your own employees mentally, not all employee engagement is the same. Okay, there's actually 3 different levels of employee engagement to consider. The first level is the actively engaged. These are the people that are going above and beyond their job. They're all in. They're connected. They love their work. They get what we're trying to do here, and they're giving all that discretionary energy towards doing a better job, right? They're doing the work of 2 and 3 people because they're so excited about what they're doing, right? These are the people you want to have. You're super excited about having people who are actively engaged at work, right? They're going above and beyond the call to that base level. However, only 29% of United States employees are considered actively engaged. Now, on the flip side, you have the actively disengaged. These are people who are unhappy. They're spreading negativity. They're causing issues. They're unproductive, right? This is the person you need to deal with right away, right? If you let them just go and act however they want to act, it's going to cause harm and issues with your workplace culture. Right? Thankfully, only 17% of employees are in this actively disengaged, but that's still a big deal. The next one, the third level, are those who are not engaged or just neutral to their job. Imagine considering almost like being stuck in neutral. These people they're showing up, They're putting in the work, but they're checked out. They're sleepwalking through their workday. They're putting in the time, but not necessarily the energy towards it. At bare minimum, you can't really do much with them, right? They're doing the bare minimum. They're showing up. They're doing what you've asked them to do, but there's no excitement behind it. There's no passion behind it, right? You can't be excited about what they're doing because they're just kind of showing up. A full 54% of our employees are there in the spot where they're checked out and just kind of stuck in neutral. All told, when you total up though the actively disengaged and those who are not engaged, we're talking about 71% of our workforce. When you consider that the millennial generation is also the least engaged generation, that becomes a big problem, as they're about to become the most dominant workforce we've ever seen. So what happens when you combine the most dominant workforce with the least engaged workforce? You have a lot of issues here. Now, I think there's two big reasons why employee engagement matters when it comes to millennials. Uh, the first one is a loss of potential and profits. When employees aren't engaged, your growth potential decreases significantly. Disengaged employees have 38% higher absenteeism, 18% lower productivity, and 15% lower profitability. Right? If you have disengaged employees, you're working at a fraction of your potential. Now, Gallup paints an even scarier picture. If you have disengaged workers are costing U.S. businesses between $450 and $550 billion a year. That's a staggering amount of money. If you have disengaged employees, your business is suffering financially from it. What this means for you is that if you're unable to engage your millennial employees, that number could rise easily, especially as more and more millennials flood the workforce. The next thing you want to worry about is turnover and retention. Now, this is something I talk to a lot of companies about. They're losing good people every day. Now, this whole coronavirus thing is impacting the workforce in a crazy way. We're seeing a huge swing in the opposite direction. But before all this, it was a very tight labor market. So people were begging and fighting and scratching and clawing to gain an employee back, or to retain an employee. But this is a big deal. The days of hire and retire is over. You are in a battle for retention. According to research, 60% of millennials are looking for their next job right now. All right, and potentially more than that when you consider what we're going through right now. All right, millennials will have more than double the amount of jobs than boomers. In 2018, 41.4 million people left their job voluntarily. That's up from 8.3% from 2017. But which doesn't sound like too much. But when you consider how far it's gone from 2010, it's up 88%. Okay. If this trend holds, it's estimated that by 2023, we'll have a 35% voluntary turnover rate. What that means is that people are going to leave their jobs without any other concern. They're going to have no problem going somewhere else. So if you aren't actively working to engage your employees, they will look elsewhere. The battle for workers is on, but what happens if you lose? What's the cost of actually losing an employee? Well, turnover hits you directly in the bottom line, right? This is a cost that's not often discussed, but it's very real and it's very damaging. Objectively, in dollars, the average cost of losing an employee is about 1/3 of their annual salary. We're talking advertising of a new job, interviewing people, screening, hiring, onboarding, training, management time, opportunity lost. Some of these stats will be higher or lower, but 1/3 of their salary is a good average. So what we're talking about here is if someone's making $30,000 a year, right, which is around minimum wage, we're talking it costs you $10,000 about to replace that person. They're making $50,000. It could cost you $16,000. All the way up to $100,000 could cost you $33,000, right? So there is a very, very real and expensive cost to losing people. Subjectively, it may be a little bit harder to see when you lose somebody. You're going to see a few things here. First, the loss of productivity, right? When you lose an experienced team member, you lose out on that person's knowledge and ability, right? Their experience. How long will it take a new person to get back to that level? It could cost you a whole year's worth of work to get someone back to where a person who's left level was at before. The next thing you lose is engagement. All right, turnover impacts those who stay. Think about it. If someone leaves, it could impact morale. The rumor mill could fire up. People could start lacking trust in management, right? What's going on? Why'd that person leave? Is everything okay? Right? Similarly, you have workplace culture issues. The dynamic has changed. If someone left poorly, right, it could leave a sour taste in the mouths of the rest of the team. And finally, you'll have customer service issues. Your customers will feel the loss of a good, experienced person, right? That's one less person that they can count on. If you don't improve employee engagement with millennial employees, it will wreak havoc on your business. It makes sense to invest time, energy, and resources then into improving engagement. However, here's the most common scenario I've found when it comes to working with millennials in the workplace. It's a never-ending cycle. See, what happens is you apply the leadership and workplace standards of the previous generation and the previous context, and it's met with resistance. If you lead others or you have managers that you're working with, you'll probably see them doing the same thing, and you're frustrated with how they're acting, right? But they're frustrated with the outcome. They're frustrated with the employee. They're frustrated with how this millennial is working with them. So you either ignore the problem, or even worse, you let this employee go and you hope that the next person will be better. Maybe this new millennial employee will fit our mold a little bit better. So you take the huge turnover cost, right? That's a huge hit to you, and you try again. And what happens is you fail again. So you say, well, this isn't working out. Let's get someone else in here. And it's a huge cost to you again. And so on and so on. The cycle continues. It's a never-ending cycle because we aren't willing to make the necessary changes. What I want to suggest today is if few millennial employees fit your workplace mold, the mold itself needs to change. We must make a shift in how we lead and operate our workplaces, or else history is doomed to repeat itself over and over again in a never-ending cycle. Now, there are some companies who are figuring this out right now, and they're working to engage their employees better. Right? They're actively working on it. They're not just waiting to see what will happen. They're doing things to improve it. They're adapting their workplaces. They're changing their molds. Right? Gallup has some great information about this. They found that the companies with the highest engaged employees, on average, are seeing huge improvements. There's 37% less absenteeism and employee turnover, 48% fewer safety incidents, 41% fewer product defects, 21% higher productivity, 22% higher profitability, right? They're seeing incredible changes to their businesses because they're working to engage their employees. If you can change the approach in your workplace, you can change the outcome. So the question is, what kind of workplace best promotes employee engagement in millennials? So I want to look at the top 7 workplace needs that drives engagement, and then explore what you can do right now to start meeting these needs. But first, what are millennials actually looking for in a workplace? I pulled in survey data from Gallup and Deloitte and Pew Research, and I built a list of what I think are the top 7 workplace needs. All right, these aren't necessarily ranked in order, but they represent a comprehensive list of needs. All right, there's going to be some, there'll be some generational jumpers, and some people, and some of you, depending on where you're at today, and when it comes to generations, you may say, well, I want those things too. And I think you'll be surprised by the list because a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, based on the movies I've seen, the TV shows I've watched, it looks like millennials probably want ping pong tables and nap pods and free food and just basically not work at all. But you'll be surprised. It's not the case. So without further ado, let's look at these top 7 things. So the first one is make a difference. The first need that millennials have is they want to make a difference in the workplace. For many, work isn't just about a paycheck. It's about making an impact on the world. 94% of millennials desire to use their work skills to benefit a cause. Over 50% would take a pay cut to find work that matches their values. And almost 60% wish there were more community service days at work. The question being asked often is, does my work have meaning? Right, this is huge when you think about what we want to do and be in our lives as people. Millennials are saying that, yeah, I have a life outside of work, but I want to make a difference in my work. Right, when someone can answer a resounding yes to does my work have meaning, they're willing to make that extra effort. But it's a challenge, though. How do you find meaning in your work? Right, seeing and understanding the difference can be difficult. Right, you get swamped by the daily tasks. The whirlwind of the day often conceals it. You feel like, well, I'm just selling widgets all day. How am I making a difference here? Right, our job as leaders then is to help people discover that difference. One of the ways you can do that is actually start with your own role. What differences are you making that isn't obvious? What's something that you aren't aware of that, wow, you know what, when I think about it, I'm actually making a big difference here? It could be small. It could be how you could reframe what you do in a different way. But you can help people interpret their roles differently by starting with your own. For someone working in a burger place, right? It's not just flipping burgers, you're helping to feed families, right? It's the same task viewed in a different way. If you can start viewing your own workplace and your job and your tasks through this unique making a difference lens, you'll be able to help others see how they can view their jobs differently as well. The next one is enabling wealth. Almost two-thirds of millennials say they're living paycheck to paycheck. Only 38% feel financially stable. I think back again to that economic recession, people coming out of college, entering the workforce, and a huge economic downturn, right? So it's not surprising that enabling wealth is a workplace need. So what is it exactly? Enabling wealth isn't being rich necessarily, but it's also not minimum wage. It's that nice happy medium. Essentially, money isn't an issue. It's enabling in that life can be lived in a way that's been envisioned. Right? You can travel. You can get a decent house. You can get a decent car. You can pay down those student loans. You can splurge and get Starbucks. You can get the avocado toast, whatever people want to get. I'm not sure. I've never really had it myself. Right? Enabling wealth says, can this job enable me to afford the life I want to live? Right? Again, this generation grew up and entered the workforce in the Great Recession, and we're probably going to see a lot of things come out of the coronavirus with what we're entering into with our economic situation right now. Right? The hopes of a life and career haven't panned out as promised. Right? So providing enabling wealth goes a long way towards fulfilling those promises for people. It also allows for deeper engagement. The next one here is compelling vision. Compelling vision asks the question, are we headed somewhere that I need to be a part of? This partners well with making a difference, right? And that providing compelling vision gives someone hope for the future. Vision connects the daily task with the preferred future. It gives someone that sense of purpose. That's super important. 60% of millennials say that a sense of purpose is a big part of a reason for staying with an employer, right? Workplaces that provide a compelling vision are places filled with hope, with vibrancy, determination, and focus. When employees get stuck in the mud in that daily whirlwind, vision is what pulls them out. When people are furloughed and sent home or are sent to work from home and dispersed from the workplace like we have now in the coronavirus, and people are working remotely and are scared and anxious, a compelling vision is what makes them feel like there's hope still, that they can do something that makes a difference in their job, even in times of crisis. Right, we aren't working for just the moment here. We're working towards something greater. So compelling vision is especially important in this day and age. The next one is leadership transparency. In a recent study, the surprising top factor for employee happiness was management transparency. Furthermore, leaders who are transparent are found by their employees to be more trustworthy and more effective. Right? Transparency as a leader is all about inviting people into the struggle. Right? It's being open and honest and real with where you are, where the employee is, and where the organization's at, good or bad. Right? Especially in, again, I keep going back to this time, it's such a unique time, but transparency is such a such an important value. I see people trying to be more transparent with their team. And when you're honest with your team, when you're open and you're forthright with what's going on, it has like this galvanizing effect on people. It allows them to feel like, yeah, I'm a part of something big here, right? Because people want to help. People want to be a part of the solution, right? So, assuming you've hired good people, why not trust them? Right? When you lack transparency as a leader, when you avoid being honest and open, you're essentially masking the true feeling of a true reality. You're telling your employees that we cannot trust you with the truth. Now, if you got good people, trust them. Most likely, they know the truth anyways, right? It's not hard to hop on CNN or hop on Twitter or Facebook and see what the truth is around the world right now. So, being open and honest with where you are is going to buy you so much credibility. So give your people a chance to contribute in a way that allows them to help as well by you being transparent. The next one is frequent feedback. The days of once a year reviews for feedback are over. One study showed that 42% of millennials want feedback every single week. That's more than twice the percentage of every other generation. Millennials want to know how they're doing, good or bad. You see, millennials have learned their entire life from their parents at home, by every teacher at school, from their coaches in sports, from the directors in band and choir and drama, and all those kind of places, that if you want to grow or progress, enlist the help and guidance of those above you. All right, find those above you who have succeeded before you, have gone before you, who have wisdom, who have experience. Find out from them how you are doing and how you need to grow and progress. Furthermore, if you are able to give frequent feedback, it demonstrates as a leader that you respect and value your people. Right? It shows that they are worth that extra effort, that you're paying attention, that you're seeing the good work they're doing or the bad work, and you're able to speak to that. Right? It shows that they're worth it. And if you wait till the very end of the year to give them feedback in a random meeting, it's too late. It's too late at that point. You probably have already lost them. It's definitely harder work to give frequent feedback and to be more involved that way. It requires way more focus and way more attention, but the benefits far outweigh the cost. The next one is being the company entrepreneur. Now, this is not to say that millennials want to start their own companies, although that there is some research that shows that a lot of millennials want to be actual entrepreneurs at some point. But what we're talking about here for the company, for the organization, the business, is that they want to take risks and try something new for your business. They want to grow. They want to progress. They want to learn. And then they want to go. They want to go and try something, right? See, learning and growth and development are high values for millennials. Nearly 60% of millennials say that learning and growth is the top priority at work, compared to only 40% of boomers, right? This isn't entitlement. Or a lot of folks would say, "Wow, man, they're just really entitled. They want all the accolades without any of the work." No, no, this isn't entitlement here. This is empowerment, right? They want to be useful. They want to expand their knowledge and skills to be more helpful, to add more meaning to their work, right? We're back to meaning and purpose, right? They want to feel like they can keep progressing in their position, not necessarily in a promotion, but just can I keep trying to expand skills, right? Workplaces that prioritize learning and development and reward those that take advantage of these opportunities will be more likely to retain millennial workers looking for the same in the future. And the last one is work-life balance. If enabling wealth enables you to afford the type of life you want to live, a work-life balance enables you to live the type of life you want to live. Right now, I can feel over the webinar, I can feel the backlash already. Work-life balance feels like a buzzword. Right? It's something that we're all kind of like, oh, work-life balance. I've heard that before. Don't like it. But it's often mistaken for a lack of desire to work hard or laziness, which I understand. That makes sense. But in reality, what we're talking about with work-life balance here is more flexibility. right? Millennials live in a more streamlined life. We talk about the advancements of technology and social media, right? Technology that we have now means that you are always on. The personal life has been merged with the work life, right? You can't show up from 9 to 5 and take your hat off at the end of the day and say work is done till the next day. No, you're doing work at all times because of our internet capabilities and our smartphones and our laptops. Our ability to be connected to our work is basically 24/7. Right. So the personal life and the work life has been forever merged. Right. So work life balance in this regard, or flexibility, means you can answer a work email at 8 p.m. while taking the dog to the vet at 10 a.m. Right. Turning work off at 5 p.m. feels antiquated for millennials. It seems almost ineffective. So why not live a streamlined life where I can do all these things as I need to, right? So flexibility in the workplace, whether it be hours or location, allows millennials to prioritize the right things at the right time, right? Their family and friends and hobbies and work can be enjoyed and embraced fully. Right, we're seeing a lot of that right now with people working remotely and from home. They're learning that I need to balance these things, and employers and bosses and managers and owners are learning that they have to entrust their people to do the right thing. So we've really expedited this work-life balance issue so that people are having to deal with it right now. So it's so important. I hope that when people come back into the workplace, they realize that, hey, you know what, we can achieve a stronger balance with our work and how we live, and I hope that this time can be instructive for people. So, how do you go about actually meeting these needs? Right, if your workplace doesn't currently meet these needs well, this can feel daunting. It's hard to know where to start because it's hard to know where to look. Or how do you go about doing these things? But if you look at them and you start to understand and dig deeper into each of these needs, you'll start to see a single unifying foundation, a unifying factor for all of them. That it's the one thing that if you address it well and develop it well, it will meet every need. And that thing is leadership. Surprise, leadership, right? But really, think about it. Each one of these 7 workplace needs can be dictated by leaders. This is why throwing ping pong tables and free food at the problem will never work, right? It starts with leaders. Leaders are the ones who can help you see how to make a difference. Leaders are the one that can ensure that you have a strong salary that allows you to have enabling wealth. Leaders are the ones who can give you a compelling vision. Leaders are the ones who have to be transparent. Leaders are the ones who can give frequent feedback. Leaders are the ones who can help you take risks in your business. And leaders are the one that can help you ensure a strong work-life balance. Right? The only way we can change the approach of workplace to meet these needs, and thus the outcome, and change that never-ending cycle, is to change the approach of leadership. In other words, a changed workplace requires changed leaders. We need leaders that are focused on engagement over control, focused on involvement over fear. We need leaders who are willing to dive into and understand the unique challenges of this generation and embrace it and figure it out. I believe that if you can adapt your leadership style, you can easily engage millennials. So, what does a leader look like who actually meets these needs? If you could build a profile of what I call like a 7 needs leader, right? What does this person look like? Now, I personally believe that a leader can look differently. Every single person is going to look differently, right? You aren't born a leader; you are developed into a leader, right? So everyone looks different. But I think the leader who meets these needs well share 5 distinct qualities. Okay, the first quality that they're present, right? They're present with their people, not just physically present, but that's important for sure. But they're mentally and emotionally present. Right, they're able to see what's happening around them. They're able to understand the dynamics of their team and their people. Right, they're looking and they're present enough to know what's working and what's not working. They know who their team is, and they're also known by their team. Right, when people are present, when leaders are present, they're able to give authentic feedback. Right, and that's super important. They can recognize work-life balance issues. They can share vision in small ways. The next quality is they're self-assured. Right? A self-assured leader is someone who possesses a confidence that isn't easily shaken or threatened by others. Right? That seems like, well, yeah, a lot of leaders are confident, but not many are self-assured in a way that says, I'm not threatened by someone performing better than me. I'm not threatened if someone I'm leading is suddenly smarter than I am in a certain area, right? A self-assured leader is someone who's unafraid to help others succeed, right? They're totally okay with being open and honest. They can be transparent, right? They can give away power to their team and let them make decisions because they're not threatened by that. Right? They can coach others into greater success because they are secure in who they are and where they're at. All right, if you have a self-assured leader, it helps with giving feedback, right? It's a lot easier to give feedback if you're not threatened by somebody. Right? It's a lot easier to be transparent if you're not concerned with what they're going to say about you later, right? You can help people take risks and grow because you're not concerned about them taking your spot. The next thing is emotionally intelligent. Leaders who are emotionally intelligent possess a capacity to be aware of, control, and express their emotions well. Right? They can relate to others with sound judgment and empathy, something that we all need right now. Right? They can read other people and they can read situations well and kind of figure out how to best respond. They can react accordingly because they have an emotional intelligence that helps them understand the situation at hand. Right? When you are emotionally intelligent, you can help provide vision to people. You can help them see. You can react and respond to what's going on in front of you to give them a new vision. Right? You can help others see where they're making a difference. Right? You're intelligent enough to know. Okay, I see how you're responding here, but let me show you and point you in a different direction. The next quality is they're transformationally aware. Right? They're able to understand at a deep heart level the needs of the organization, the employee, and themselves even. Right? They're aware not just a surface level, not just, okay, well, I know that we sell widgets. I know that this is your job description, and I know I'm supposed to lead you, right? Yeah, that's the surface. Everyone knows those things. But what's the secret sauce behind it all? What's at the core? What's at the heart, right? We know what you do, but why do you do it? Right? That's what being transformationally aware is all about. It's being able to dig deep beneath the surface, dig your hands deep into the soil to really understand who people are and what they're all about. Right? When you are transformationally aware of what's going on around you, it helps you infuse purpose into everything you do. It helps you not only to know the vision, but to understand the vision, right? And why it all matters. Everyone can regurgitate and recite a vision statement, but do you understand it at your core level? Right. And the last quality I think that the seven needs leader has is they're radically intentional. Right. Once you develop this transformational awareness, then you dive into it with a radical intentionality that says, I understand this deep awareness. Now I'm going to respond with deliberate action that changes the fundamental nature of your organization, your team, and yourself. Even. I think about it. A huge part of leadership, maybe all of leadership, is building relationships, communication, workplace culture, right? Or just culture in general, right? The radically intentional leader ensures that these elements are done and taken care of in a way that makes an appreciable difference, right? We're making sure that we are intentional with building relationships. We're making sure that our communication isn't just spoken, but heard, right? We are ensuring that our culture is crafted and protected in a way that everyone can thrive. Now, if you or your team aren't very strong in these qualities, and that's understandable. That happens. Don't worry. These qualities aren't things that people are born with. I don't think that's true. There are a lot of people will say, "Well, leadership, you have to be born a certain way," and there's some people who have disqualified themselves from leadership because they feel like they don't have certain movie-esque qualities, right? Or they're super domineering or confident. You don't need those things. All of these qualities, these five qualities especially, are things that you can develop over time. And you can start right away with I'm declaring three simple actions. Okay, there are three things you can do right now that can change your approach to leadership to help meet these seven needs. The first one is to schedule regular time together. All right, schedule regular time with your people. This is such a simple thing. Meet with your people regularly. Millennials who have regular meetings with their manager, by research, are shown are to be twice as likely to be engaged at work. Okay, that's regular meetings. Employee engagement, though, is highest with those who meet with their manager at least once a week. Right. So if you aren't meeting at all, this is a first place to start. Because think about it. If you aren't talking to your people, if you aren't meeting with them, if you aren't engaging with them in more than just like the water cooler or coffee break conversation or passing each other in the hallway, if you aren't sitting down and having an intentional relationship building type meeting, you can't transmit vision very well. You can't be transparent. You can't give real feedback, right? You can't give frequent feedback. You can't infuse purpose if you're not talking to each other, right? You won't understand the work-life balance needs of your people. You won't understand the financial struggles to make sure they're having enabling wealth if you don't see your people, right? Here's a truth we have to grab hold of. Intentional relationships don't happen at random, right? So we have to make time for them. The next thing we have to do is weigh your words. How are you communicating with your people? Are you offering a compelling vision, or are you just distracting people? Are you being transparent, open, and honest, or are you shielding the truth? Is your feedback pointed and specific, or is it general and indirect? See, what you say and how you say it matters. Don't waste your words. If you wouldn't want to hear it, if it would be meaningless to you, don't say it. It's not worth it. Millennials can sniff out a fake from miles away, right? Millennials have learned very quickly through social media and all this technology that there are some people who are authentic and some people who are faking it. So it's worth it to weigh your words and making sure what you're saying matters and is meaningful. So be authentic, be real, and let your words carry that weight and meaning. And the last thing you can do is to connect the what to the why. Leaders need to be like tour guides. Okay, they're showing people the beauty of the big picture at every turn. Start by making connections between daily tasks and the big picture. All right, every email you send out, every meeting you have with your people, every announcement you give, share the why behind the what. Help people find meaning by pointing out the underlying purpose behind every task. You can, as a tour guide, right? You're helping your people see what they may not be able to see on their own. Now, either there's 3 simple things you can do right off the bat to help you start to change the approach to leadership. Right? It just scratches the surface. But if you can start to do these 3 things and figure out how that works in your schedule, how that works in your life, and how you lead now, you'll start to see your workplace change for the better. You'll start to see much more engagement, especially from your millennial employees looking for these things. So the question is, what would it look like if your workplace not only retained, but got the best of millennial employees? What would it require of you as a leader to boost employee engagement with your people? As we approach a total generational changeover in the workforce, these questions are worth answering. It's also worth the effort, right? Because not just because millennials are taking over the workforce, right? Millennials have always gotten a bad rap in the news and the media, but when you think about it, there's a lot of really great things that millennials bring to the workforce that we should be excited about, right? They bring a lot of positives. They're motivated to grow and develop, right? They really like that kind of stuff. They want to get in there and make it happen, right? They're one of the most genuine generations, according to research out there. They're also one of the most optimistic generations out there. They thrive on teamwork. They want to work together as a team and make things happen. They're driven to succeed. They're tenacious. They want to make it happen. They want to progress and grow. They want to help your business grow. They care about the bigger picture in our world, right? They want to make a difference. They want to use what they've developed at work to make a difference in the world around them in big and small ways. We need this in our workforce. We need people like this. So we should be excited by what's going to happen here. But we also need to be aware that millennials need a different approach to leadership. Right? The older approach to work and leadership worked for a time and generation. Absolutely. If we had webinars back when the boomers were coming into power and when Gen Xers were taking over the workforce, you would have the same type of webinar, but focused on the needs of that generation and how they were shaped and what they need in the workplace. And much like we adapted to meet the needs of boomers and Gen Xers, we now have to adapt our leadership approach to meet the needs of millennials. All right, if you can change your approach to meet the needs of millennials, you'll not only retain millennials, but your organization will soar into the next generation. Right, all those millennials that are going to take over. 3 out of 4 workers will be millennials. They will come and flock to your business or organization because they know that they're going to be taken care of. That you've changed and made the change and changed the approach to make sure that they are cared for in a way that allows them to thrive. So when someone says to you, "We don't know what to do with millennials," tell them to change the approach, to focus on engagement, and then get the better outcome. Now, I don't expect everyone to be able to simply change or easily change how you lead overnight. That's something that is incredibly difficult. I mentioned that earlier, that it's hard. We're just kind of scratching the surface here of what we can do. But the reality is, we've all experienced leaders that honestly make us feel like crap, or they made us want to leave a job, right? That make us dread going into work. But these same leaders that we've dreaded and wanted to avoid, they've also shaped how we lead today, whether we like it or not, right? Whether through mentoring or osmosis, whatever, right? Many of us have learned that leadership isn't engagement. It's actually fear, being in control over somebody, being in power over somebody, domineering, making sure everyone follows my lead at all costs, right? It's incredibly hard to break out of this mold on your own. But this is also why I've started my business and why I do what I do. I want to help people become the leader they've always wished they had for themselves, not just for you, but for the people you're also leading. So to help leaders accomplish this, I've developed a unique leadership development program called the 6-Week Leader. My program takes the time to help people unpack a new leadership paradigm, one that focuses on employee engagement, meeting these 7 workplace needs and beyond, right? And developing those qualities we talked about. Through small group teaching and discussion, practical applications, and written reflections, participants had the opportunity to take a deep dive into leadership with the goal of coming out on the other side different, changed, and ready to lead better. So if your organization or your business is in need of healthier, stronger leaders, if you feel like the managers you do have are struggling to connect with your people, if you're losing employees, if your turnover rate is too high for your comfort, I'd love to talk with you. So send me an email at steve@otley.com, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. You can also call me. You can see on the screen there my number. You can also visit my website at otley.com. Let's schedule some time to talk together. I want to learn more about you, hear about your needs and concerns, and we'll see if my program or any of my other programs would be a good fit for your business. No strings attached. I just love to talk with you and hear more about you and what you're doing. I hope that you've taken away some ideas on how you can improve your workplaces and your leadership. I know that, again, we just scratched the surface here, but I believe that we can make a shift. And I'd love to see people come back to the workplaces, even after the coronavirus is done, with new thoughts and new approaches that we've talked about here today. If you have any questions about any of this information, if you're concerned about something, if you're frustrated with what's going on with leadership, want to talk about my program, just let me know. Send me an email, check out my website, or connect with me on social media. I'd love to talk with you. But thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.